This is a story about how criminals in other countries, and some of them here in the U.S., take advantage of the weak spots, what our police, attorneys, and judges in some cities don't know about immigration. And so, as I tell you this story, I want you to remember that my family is one of a military background and police background, so we have plenty of respect for law enforcement and the justice system. But the justice system does not always work. Sometimes everyone who takes part in it is just as much a part of the problem as the criminal. This is a story that you may have a hard time believing, but I promise you every word of it is true, even though I may change a few names. This is about a man and a woman who met online on a dating website. This is a man who had plenty of experience with dating websites. However, he didn't know about fraudulent spouses. These are some of the things that he told me. She asked me to come to China. On my first visit, she proposed to me. On my second visit, we had the wedding. She arrived in the USA 22 months later. Well, that's a long time. That's suspicious, if you ask me. She soon told me to call immigration and see if her 2 years were fulfilled. What's that about? She had 2 years of being married to him, a U.S. citizen, before she could have her permanent residence. She began inviting me to hit her. Uh-oh. What in the world is that about? He told me one day, he said, we were driving down the road and she said to me, Joe, if you ever want to hit me, if you get mad and you want to hit me, then that's okay. He said to me, I was almost in tears. I said, honey, why would I ever want to hit you? But she said, well, if you want to, that's okay. Then she told me I could hit her whenever I felt like it. She was frustrated when I wouldn't. One night, he said, she seized my arms and tried to drive my hands into her face. She almost broke my toe. What she did was she grabbed his wrists and she pulled him down to the floor, trying to make him fall on her so that she could get a bruise, anything, a bruise, a cut, anything, so that she could call the police. That's what was going on, but he didn't understand. Another night, she called 911 and ran outside the house screaming, "Help me! Help me!" The police came to her rescue, and I was charged with battering her, Joe said. Now, the policeman who made the arrest was a captain, and believe me, I want to have a conversation with that man, because his very poor judgment caused an incredible amount of suffering and financial loss to this American citizen who had no idea what was going on. And obviously, the police had no idea either. Neither did the judge, neither did the attorneys. Those are the statements that we turn into immigration, to Homeland Security. And then, this is the statement that I put on it, but in the name of Joe. It was his bundle of documents that we turned in. Then a specialist in immigrant behavior, that's me, explained what my wife was doing, and all the pieces fell into place. Here is the trail of evidence my wife left behind. And this is the trail of evidence that I'm going to tell to you, at least in part. It's a mountain of evidence, so there's no way we can get through it in a couple of lessons, but you'll get the idea. She asked me to come to China. She asked him in emails. On my first visit, she proposed to me. I'm just putting this out here again for you so you can look at it together. On my second visit, we had the wedding. See, looking back now, it's easy for you to see that this was a setup. But thousands of Americans get trapped in these things. She arrived in the USA 22 months later. Why did it take her so long? I asked him, and he said to me, well, there were some paperwork hang-ups. Well, no way. There's just no way. She was up to something. She soon told me to call immigration and see if her 2 years were fulfilled. Why? Why would she want that? Because then when she had her permanent residence after 2 years, see, she didn't come here until it was almost 2 years of that time gone by. So she was looking for her green card, her permanent residence card, so then she could just take off. But she wasn't going to just take off. She had to do something first. She began inviting me to hit her. See, with all of this on one screen here, it's easy for you to see this crazy story points to fraud, marriage fraud. She was acting like she wanted to be married, but she was just using this as a form of what I call illegal immigration. So let's keep it moving. She told me I could hit her whenever I felt like it, Joe said. She was frustrated when I wouldn't. One night she seized my arms to grab him by the wrists, both wrists, and he said she was really strong, and tried to drive my hands into her face. He said I wouldn't let her. She almost broke my toe, because when she pulled him down to the floor, he was trying to keep from falling on her, and by doing that, he ended up, I think he knocked his foot up against the dresser. Another night she called 911 and ran outside screaming, "Help me, help me!" See, now you can see that this is absolutely ridiculous. And guess what? I knew this before it even happened. He didn't realize it till some time later. So when the police came to rescue her, the policeman said, she was obviously distressed when we got there. He said she was screaming, and we tried to understand what she was saying, and they couldn't understand her. That's because she doesn't speak much English. And so she would make motions like she had been hurt. And so the police are watching this woman screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming, and they're in the house now. And they're asking Joe, well, what happened? What happened? And he said, well, he said, I really don't know what's going on. And he said, well, she's indicating that you grabbed her. Did you grab her? And he said to me, he said, I don't know what I told the policeman. He says, I grabbed the phone from her out there. And he said, maybe I said I grabbed her. He probably was holding her still so he could get the phone, because she was using it really as a weapon against him, you see. And so he apparently said something that he had grabbed her. Well, so the captain said, okay, you're under arrest, and they took him to jail. Now, that is an amazing thing. That is an amazing thing when you consider that she had just been grabbing him, pulling him down to the floor. But you see, Joe didn't know what to say. Joe thought they were in love and that there was maybe a mental breakdown that she was having. So what was she trying to do? She was trying to get him to be arrested for violent behavior toward her, so that she would qualify under U.S. law for the greatest protection plan. What would happen then, she would be free to go live her life away from him. And she only had to make sure that there were 3 things that were in place. 1, the police had to file a report, so she had to report this to the police. Then the case had to be violence. And the 3rd thing was she had to cooperate with the district attorney, the prosecutor's office, in taking this evil American husband to justice. She was more than happy to do that.